We've been talking about this for a couple of weeks now, but closing the gender pay gap has been a topic of major discussion lately. What can you actually do, though, if you or someone you love is being illegally paid less simply because you're a woman, they're a woman? Here with some tips is our lifestyle lawyer, Shari. Shari, good morning to you. Thanks so much for being here. If you find that you're being paid less than you should because you're a woman and maybe you want to do something about it, where do you start?
The first thing that you have to do is educate yourself, Holly. And the best way to do that, and unfortunately I know when we go to lawyers it ends up costing money and it can be frustrating, but is to find a good qualified, experienced employment lawyer, because that person's going to be able to tell you what the legal elements are that you're going to have to prove. They'll be able to explain to you the burden of proof, and that's just a must-do. The next step would be to really take a hard look at your company procedures and make sure you understand those, because first of all, it might be able to help you resolve the problem by following the procedures, but second of all, you don't want to create problems for yourself by not following the procedure. Those are things that a company, an employer can raise as defenses and really stop any kind of discrimination claim or create problems for you if you don't follow them. Also, checking the EEOC website, eeoc.gov, is important, because one of the first things you would need to do if you want to move forward is file a charge. So you want to understand those procedures, as well as state and local laws and procedures that relate to employment discrimination. And last, if you work for a government contractor or the government, the Department of Labor, DOL.gov, also has special procedures and special rules that you'll want to be aware of.
Don't oftentimes these cases boil down to a matter of your word against your employer, though?
Unfortunately. And that's why it's so important that you document everything that you're going to need to prove. So you can do that with copies of emails, you can do that with copies of your pay stubs. Also, you want to document by creating memorandums for your own file that you have a record of people involved that may be witnesses and dates, important conversations and events. Keep copies of your performance reviews and, of course, any disciplinary reviews. But you also need to be careful, Holly, to follow company procedure, because some companies have procedures about copying certain documents, removing certain documents from the office, and again, you want to follow those.
But certainly try to document as much as you can.
You have to.
What if you're fired, or even you leave because you believe you've just been discriminated against? What do you do at that point?
Right. Well, then what's called the statute of limitations comes into play. So you have a certain amount of time under these laws in order to file a claim. So under the Equal Pay Act, you have 2 to 3 years, depending on the exact circumstances. Under Title VII of the Civil Rights Act, you have 180 days. I don't know if you remember the Lilly Ledbetter Act a few years ago. That act actually clarified that 180 days starts each time again that there's a discriminatory action. So if it's an equal pay issue, then your last paycheck would be when the time frame starts counting. So you want to make sure you follow those time frames.
So some concrete examples of what you can do for yourself or your loved one.
And it's a tough decision. I mean, you know, you open a can of worms, but unless we start standing up and sort of fighting back, this is just going to, exactly.
Okay. Shari, thanks so much. Mike, back over to you.
Second anniversary of the marathon bombings.